Evening YouTube. So it's Friday night again tonight, and that just means one thing to me now. Friday night means it's hi-fi night. So James is round, usual routine. We are having a night in, a few beers, and gonna play around with some hi-fi. And as you can see tonight on the table, I've got set up the Pioneer SX-750. Now this one is from 1976 and it's 50 watts per channel into 8 ohms. Now I was going to do the hit parade tonight because James is round and he wants to have a listen to it. Now that the hit parade is all working, I thought I'd do that tonight. But I couldn't because when I went to set it up, I couldn't find my phono to DIN lead to connect a CD player up to it. I know I've got one floating about somewhere, but I just couldn't find it. So I'm going to do the Pioneer SX-750 instead. Now, I have been listening to this Pioneer for the last few weeks, so I've got to know it quite a bit, and it's working really well, this Pioneer. And it has been a bit of an eventful Friday night already tonight, because James has done a few dumb things tonight. The first of which was I agreed to pick James up tonight after work because he is staying here all weekend to look after the cat. Because it's Valentine's weekend, I have booked up a couple of nights in a hotel for me and my missus. So we're not here Saturday night and Sunday night. So I asked James if he would stay here and look after little Furball. So I picked James up and we drove back here. We stopped and got some beers on the way and then got here. And as we're getting out of the car and coming in, I went to James, haven't you got a bag of clothes or anything with you if you're staying here? He went, oh no, I forgot. I've left them indoors. So I went, oh James, come on. And we got to be quick because there's a little vintage Kenwood finishing on eBay in about half an hour and I really want to have a bid on it. So we jumped in the car and shot back to James's house, and he's gone in and come out with a massive black bag. He looked more like he was moving in rather than just staying here for a couple of nights. So I've popped the boot on the car so he can put his bag in, and I've sat back in the car. So he's walked to the boot of the car and then started talking to his next door neighbour. So I'm looking at the time thinking, oh, come on, James, hurry up. And he's still talking. So I put my head out the window. I went, James, come on, I've really got to go. So he shut the boot of the car and jumped back in, and we shot back here. So by the time we've got back here, I'm thinking, oh, I've missed that little Kenwood. So I literally pulled the car up out the front. I jumped out, threw the keys at James so he could get his bag out of the boot, and I rushed indoors to fire up the computer. But luckily, when the computer fired up, the little Kenwood had 1 minute still to go. So I watched it count down to about 10 seconds, whacked a little bid in, and yes, I was the lucky winning bidder, so I've now got a little broken Kenwood coming here. So then while I'm paying for the Kenwood on the computer, James has walked in and he went, it's not there. I went, what do you mean it's not there? He went, my bag, it's not in the boot of the car. I went, it must be, James, you had it in your hand. He went, yeah, I know, but I can't have put it in the boot. I must have left it on the curb while I was talking to the bloke next door. It's like, oh, James. So we jumped back in the car and shot back to James's house again. But when we got there, there was no sign of his bag, and we both knew 100% he had brought the bag out from indoors. So James is looking really gutted because he thinks someone has stolen his bag. But then luckily the bloke from next door come walking out and he went looking for something, boys, and he had James's bag in his hand. So James had been very dumb and just left his bag on the curb, but luckily the man next door had seen the bag and picked it up and stopped it getting stolen. So eventually we did get James's bag and then came back here. So we was having a good laugh about that, about how dumb James had been, just leaving his bag on the curb. And it didn't just have his clothes in it, he was lucky because he had put his tablet in there as well. So after the drama with James's missing bag, it was nice to get back home, crack open a beer and start listening to this lovely old Pioneer. And it does sound good, this Pioneer. Like I said, I've been using it for the last few weeks and I really like this SX-750. It is a good vintage receiver and it is one of those that is really nice to use. You know what I'm talking about. Some amplifiers and receivers just lovely when you turn the volume or do whatever with them. It's just a lovely thing to own. It still has got a problem with the on-off switch. Look, I'll show you. You cannot turn it off. So what I've been doing with it is just turning it on and off at the plug socket, which isn't a problem. Everything else is working perfectly, apart from you cannot turn it off. So I will get round to having a look at that another day, but I've got so much stuff that needs repairing at the minute. I just haven't had time to look at this Pioneer, and it's not the end of the world turning it on and off at the socket, because everything else is working fine on it. So I've just been enjoying using it and listening to it. And the other thing I've been enjoying tonight is laughing at James because he done something else really dumb tonight. So when we stopped at the shop for him to go in and get some beers, he came back out with a big smile on his face and he went, "I've got you 8 cans of Bellhaven Best and I've bought myself 8 bottles of Moretti because they was on special offer." So when we got back here, I noticed what James had done straight away, but he didn't realise. So I opened a Bellhaven and James opened a Moretti and I was like, "So how's that taste, James?" He goes, "Yeah, it's really nice. I like the Moretti." So I'm trying not to laugh and I went to him, "You mind you don't get drunk on them, James, 'cause they're far too strong for you, them Morettis. And remember, you got to be up early in the morning if you're going to come with me to look at them Rogers speakers." And he went, "No, I'll be all right, I'll be up. They're not that strong, these Morettis. I've had them before." So I laughed then, and he went, "What's the funny?" And then he noticed. He went, "Oh no, I've bought 0 beers." So we both had a good laugh about that as well. So James has been very dumb tonight, but he has been good entertainment, I'll give him that. So he's been a bit like this Pioneer, 'cause this Pioneer is very good entertainment, it really is. And it's very different to the stuff I've been listening to lately, 'cause mainly lately I've been listening to little low-powered receivers and amplifiers, 15, 20 watts, things like that. But this Pioneer being 50 watts, and remember that's old-fashioned 50 watts, so it really is a big step up in power. It really is powerful, this Pioneer. It's hard to believe that it is only 50 watts because it really does pack a punch, this Pioneer. And it's got a ton of bass behind it. You can just feel the power of this thing driving the speakers. So even at low volumes with this one, you can just sense that it's got a ton of power behind it. Now I have had it up loudish. I have not had this one flat out, because believe me, if you turn this Pioneer right up, it is going to be really, really loud. So I've not had it nowhere near flat out. But I have had it up a little bit the other night. I had it connected to them TDL Studio 10 speakers, and I was home alone. So I had a yellow greatest hit CD in the CD player, and I was cranking this Pioneer up a little bit, and at them quite loud volumes, that is when this Pioneer comes into its own. You could just tell it was really enjoying being let loose a little bit, because it was driving them TDLs really well. It was getting a ton of bass, a really good top end, and it was all happening really fast. So it is another one of the Pioneers that is very rhythmical as well. Everything is happening really fast and very dynamic on this old 750. And earlier tonight, me and James had it connected up to the Bowers and Wilkins DM7 speakers, and we had it turned up quite loud and was putting a few different tracks through it. We had a bit of Prodigy and some Yellow and some other stuff going through it, but then I put in the James Taylor Quartet, the Starsky and Hutch theme, and I'll tell you what, oh, it sounded fantastic. We even turned it up a little bit more, because it just sounded so good, and we had that track twice. Good, wasn't it, James? Yeah, he agrees. It was good. It really did sound good. James Taylor Quartet, Starsky and Hutch theme. Yeah, it sounded fantastic through this Pioneer with them DM7s on it. So after we had the Starsky and Hutch, me and James was talking about it. And I said to him, so what do you think of this Pioneer? And he went, yeah, I really like it. It sounds really good, doesn't it? I wasn't expecting it to sound that good. And I went, yeah, it does sound good. I said, but what do you think of it for the money? Do you think this Pioneer is worth the big price tag that goes with it? And he said, I would have said no. But after just listening to that Starsky and Hutch through it, I'm going to change my tune and say, yes, this Pioneer is worth a big price tag, because it is that good. And I will agree with James there, because the one thing I've learned about this Pioneer over the last few weeks of listening to it is that you've just got to love this Pioneer. You have to. There is no way you can not like this receiver if you've got one. It's a beast. It sounds fantastic. And if you own one of these and you think your one doesn't sound that good, if you know 100% that your one is working properly, then you need to get some different speakers for it. Because I have noticed that about this Pioneer. It is a little bit fussy on what you put in it. It doesn't work with everything. But when you find something this Pioneer likes, then it comes into its own and just sounds like something special. It's a bit like the 434 in that aspect. That little 434, that is quite fussy on what speakers you put on it. It doesn't work with everything. And I'm learning that this 750 is the same. It doesn't work with whatever speaker you put on it. But as soon as you put something on it that does work, you will know, because suddenly it will sound that good. And I was a bit like with this one. When I first got it, yeah, it's a lovely receiver. It weighs a ton. It's built like a tank. It's lovely to use. But this receiver does make a high price. So when I first got it, I'm looking at it thinking, yeah, it is a really good receiver. and I'm looking at the prices that these make on the computer, and I am thinking, oh yeah, you are paying a bit of vintage Pioneer tax on that. But then as I've started using it and the more I've been listening to it, I've kind of changed my tune on that one, because I don't think you are paying much of a Pioneer tax for this one, because it really is that good. You get it on the right speakers and turn it up a bit where this receiver comes into its own. It really is worth that high price tag. This thing is worth every penny of that, because when you get it at its best, it's fantastic, this receiver. So in my book, this one is worth every penny. And if you did save up to buy yourself one of these, as long as you put the right set of speakers on it, I don't think you'd be disappointed. You wouldn't be thinking, oh, I should have bought something else. You'd be really happy with this receiver, because it's lovely to use and it really does sound good in the right situation. Now, if you're someone that just likes listening to music at low volumes and that, then probably this Pioneer isn't worth the money, because at low volumes it is just a good receiver. There is nothing really special about it. Well, not that I have noticed yet. It is really good, but if you paid top dollar for one of these and you are only listening to it at low volumes, you are kind of missing the point of owning it. This one comes into its own when it is cranked up a little bit. That is what it is built for. So if you are someone that does crank your receiver up a little bit now and again, and you bought yourself one of these Pioneers, I think you would be very happy with it, as long as you have got the right speakers on it. And when I'm saying this one's not really for those of you who just want to listen to stuff at normal volumes, I'm not saying it's no good in that situation. It is. I haven't really done much with it at low volume, sitting close with it and all that. I've been more using it through my floor standards and cranking it a bit, because I've been really enjoying it like that. So I will get round to doing a bit of close up, little smaller speakers on it and all that. But what I am saying is, I've done a little bit of that with it, and what I would say, if you're going to use it in that sort of situation, then you are spending quite a lot of money on something that you are never going to really use to its full potential. And if you're on a bit of a budget, then I think you could get something for like listening to at normal levels for a lot less money than one of these vintage Pioneers. But if you're flush with cash and you've got money, then treat yourself to one of these Pioneers, because even though you might not be using it to its full potential, it's still a lovely thing to own. It's a lovely thing to have sitting in front of you. And when you've got something as nice as this old Pioneer, it does make that listening experience that little bit more magical, because you just really enjoy using it. And it is a bit of a work of art, this old receiver. Just look at it. I feel really lucky to own one of these in really nice working condition. I know it needs the on-off sorting out, but I will do that. And then for me and this old Pioneer, I know we will be together for the rest of my days. For one, my missus bought me this for Christmas as a project, because it wasn't working and it had some knobs missing off the front. So it's got that about it as well. And number two, I love this Pioneer, so there is no way I'm ever going to part with this one. But what I'm sort of saying is, if you are someone that knows you are never going to be cranking it up into party mode and all that, and you haven't got much money, then I would say that this Pioneer probably isn't for you, and I wouldn't go after one of these because there is a lot of little low powered amplifiers that in that low volume listening situation, I think they will sound as good as this Pioneer, and some of them can be picked up for like quarter of the price that this Pioneer can. And then with the money you have saved, you could buy yourself a right nice decent set of speakers, because you've got that to go with this Pioneer as well. If you buy one of these Pioneers, after buying it, you need to get your cash out again and buy a decent set of speakers for it. Because there is no point buying one of these 750s and putting a little budget set of bookshelves on it or something like that. This thing needs a decent set of speakers. I've noticed that with it. You put quality speakers on it, suddenly this Pioneer ups its game, and suddenly it really comes to life. 'Cause it's quite powerful, this Pioneer will choke a lot of speakers. They can't deal with it. This really does need something that can handle that power. Now, I know it's only 50 watts, but like I said, for a 50-watt amp, this thing has really got a punch to it. So your speakers need to be able to deal with that. And I sort of think that even with all the speakers I have not got nothing that is a perfect match for this old Pioneer. Because I think this could do with something with like a 12-inch driver or a 10-inch driver going on. Because I do think that if you had a set of speakers with a big 12-inch driver on this Pioneer, it would up its game again and take it to the next level. So I'm looking to get something nice quality, big 12-inch driver, nice well-made wooden cabinet, and I think something like that'll work really good on this Pioneer. Maybe an old vintage set of Richard Allen's or something like that. So I'm going to try and hunt down something like that just to try it on this old Pioneer. Now, I am looking at a set of speakers in the morning. Me and James are going to look at a set of Rogers LS55s. They're like a floor stander. So I found them for sale on Gumtree. One of the tweeters doesn't work in them, so me and James are going to look at them tomorrow. And if they're in the condition that they looked in the photos, I think I'm going to buy them Rogers at the price they're up for, because they look like a bit of a bargain. And I have been looking on the computer already, and you'll easily find a tweeter for 'em if the one in 'em is dead. And I do think I've got something else coming tomorrow, because my missus was on her phone a lot the other day, texting and messaging, and then all of a sudden she went, "Oh, I've just got to go out for a bit, I'm going shopping." And it was about 7 o'clock in the evening, so the only shopping you can do in the UK at that time is supermarket shopping. All the other shopping is shut. So I went, "Oh, are you going supermarket shopping?" She went, "Yeah." I went, "Oh, I'll come with you, 'cause I want to get some stuff for me packed lunch for work." And she looked at me with a face that basically told me she did not want me going with her. She was up to something. Because normally she'd be really happy if I said I'd go shopping with her. But on this occasion I could tell she did not want me going. And she went, "Oh, what do you want? Some sausage rolls or some pies or something like that?" And normally I would have said, "Oh yeah, just get us some packed lunch bits." But I thought, no, I'm pushing this because she is squirming here. She is up to something. So I went, "Oh no, I'm not sure what I want. I wanted to have a little look round. There's some other bits I want as well. So let me put my shoes on and I'll come with ya." And then she said this, and I've been with her a long time. I knew she was making it up. And she went, "Oh, I've got to pop in and see Tina from work. I've got to collect some stuff for work tomorrow 'cause she's not in. So, do you really want to come?" I went, "Yeah, I want to come shopping." She went, "All right then, let me go and see Tina and sort this out, and then I'll pick you up on the way back and we go shopping." So I went, "Oh, I'll come Tina's with you." She went, "Look, I'm going, I'll pick you up on the way back." She snapped at me and just shot out the door. So I knew she was up to something, and that's what she did. She picked me up on the way back, and then we went shopping. And when we come out from shopping, I went to the boot of her car to put the shopping in, and she went, "Oh, no, just put it on the back seat. I've got stuff for work in the boot." So I knew again she was making it up. So either there was my Valentine's present that she had just collected sitting in the boot of her car, or she's having an affair and her new boyfriend was hiding in the boot, because there was a reason that I was not allowed in the boot of her car. So we shall see tomorrow. If I get something nice for Valentine's Day that she would have gone and collected, then my suspicions were right, and that's what she was up to the other day. But if I get nothing, or I just get a little cheap bunch of flowers, then I know that her new fancy man was hiding in the boot. So thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.